Hello everyone, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Model Invention. Here we are now with pack 103. I was thinking about this morning. We must be nearly finished now because I think it's either 120 or 130 parts to this, so we must be nearly done. So yeah, cool. Right, so in this magazine we're going to get a lot done. There is lots going on here, but before we start we'll just have a look at the what we got in the magazine. If you want to get yourself one of these, have a look in the description below the video and you will see there is a link where you can go and find out all about it. It seriously is a lovely model. It really is. I'm looking forward to see how the body all fits together and everything. Hopefully, looking at the pictures, these photographs here of the actual model itself, it's looking very nice. So 50th anniversary Cobras. 2015 was 50 years since the launch of the Cobra, and they made an up-to-date replica, some of which had a mirror finish body. Blimey. Wow, that looks impressive, doesn't it? And then we've got a special edition, it's 47 of 50. Special edition badge on the dash there. So yeah, very nice indeed. I'd love keeping that polished, and I bet you'd love to get some seagull droppings on there, wouldn't you? There you can see the parts. We've got lots and lots to do in this one. Lots and lots to do. Ford Falcon XR8, Australian muscle. Yes, beautiful car. For its definitive retirement, the Falcon adopted the frontal aesthetics of the other Ford models with a large grille frame by a trim in black matte, which included the version's initials. So you can see we've got a very sort of Mustang focus like front end there. And there's the Ford Falcon in racing. In is this Australian touring cars? I'm not sure if this is touring cars or supercars. But yeah, beautiful car. And there's the Ute. And there's the unfortunate, from an aesthetic point of view, Ford Falcon XR8 from 2000. The brand very soon corrected this version's design. Yeah, oh dear. There we go. Right, so let's get on with this mammoth piece of work. Mammoth because we've got to have the whole thing on the deck. So yeah, we've got all these wires in here. We've got lots and lots of stuff. If you wonder why I take the thing off screen to cut it, it's because this blue is just basically paper. There we go. So there's a big old bag, and then we got lots and lots of bits and pieces in here. Okay, I'm going to keep these separate because they may have been separated for a reason. So we've got our windscreen washer bag there. Got some screws. Some more screws, bracket, a pin, a circuit board, and as I say, 3 lots of wires. So these are all numbered, I believe. Yes, they are. Are they numbered on both ends? It looks like they're perhaps not. Anyway, we'll keep them separate just in case. And we've got all our screws and everything there. We'll get these bags open, so we've got those there when we need them. I'm going to put them down here out of the way, because in a minute we're going to have the whole chassis on the bench. I may have to set up another camera so you can see what I'm doing. But yeah, this is going to be a handful from here on in, I think. Okay, so place the windscreen washer reservoir in its place on the engine compartment bulkhead left. Press the 3 pins on the reservoir into the bulkhead. So first things first, I've got to get the chassis over here and turn it around. It's bloody huge, this thing. Right. So here is our washer reservoir. 3 pins on the back. Let's get the light on for you. We've got 3 pins on the back, and they're going to go into 3 holes in there in that inner wing. So there we go. That's that in there like that. So that's that first part done. Okay, and now we've got to turn it around again. Now we're going to place the printed circuit board on the chassis. Note the floor has 2 pins that fit in the holes of the board. To orientate it correctly, secure the printed circuit board with 2 PSO5 screws. So we're going to grab 2 of these PSO5 screws here. Okay, and we're going to put the manual over here, and then we're going to grab this chassis and turn it around again. Radiator hanging around here, look loose. I think we fit that later on. And then we're going to grab our circuit board, which is over here, and we're going to get this open. Oh, come on. Well, this is a great watch, isn't it? Let's watch Nigel try and open a packet. God, dear, dear, dear. Right. Don't ever throw these away. These are great little handy trays for when you're doing your other model. If you want to mix a bit of pigment or something, or want to hold some screws in a tray, really handy little things, so don't throw them away. So this is going to go, where's the magazine? You can see in the magazine here where it's going to fit, and it's going to fit with these 3 pegs at the back. Okay, so there's a pin there, and there's a pin there, and you've got a screw hole there and there. So that's going to go in like that. I just want to see, actually, can you fit it the wrong way around? Yes, you can, so be careful. Make sure that those 3 plugs are at the back. Right, and then 2 PSO5 screws to stop the magazine falling off the table. Grab a PSO5 screw and we will secure that down into there. Grab another one and secure that down into there. Just like so. Okay, now first connect the wire 9 from the speaker. Okay, so wire 9 is going into connector 9. Blimey, this is difficult to see, especially with my knackered out old eyes. That's 9 there. Alright, so that is going to go into there like so. Okay, so that's it. You can see they don't, it's 13, 14, 9, 11, 12, and then here we've got, it's very difficult to see, I don't know if it's the light or what, but we've got 8, 3, 2, 7, 6, 5, 4, 1, 10, 15, 16, 17. So you have to be careful what you're doing. So first connect wire 9. Now connect wire 1, C1 to the PCB, and route the free end forward, passing it under the 2 retaining clips shown ringed in the picture. So first we've got to find wire 1. There's 2. There's wire 1 there. Okay, so wire 1 has, it's probably best to untangle all these together. So you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so wire 1, where have you gone, wire 1? Wire 1 was a 3. Wire 1, you can see there we've got 0, 1 on that one. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to fit this with the paper label at the front. Okay, so I know when we get to wiring the front, I know what's what. If you put the paper label at the back, you won't know what it is on this end. They're not marked on the plugs, are they? No, they're not. So we're going to put the paper end at that end, and I'm going to plug wire 1 into here. Now that is there, and that's going to go that way into there. And then what they're telling you to do is bring the wire forward and put it underneath those 2 clips in the floor. Okay, so that's going to come like that, and then that's going to go, it looks like you need to actually route it under there. Okay, and then we're going to need some tweezers to lift it out at the end. Alright, now I'm going to try and keep this flat if I can, because that'll make more room for the other wires to come through. We don't want to end up with just a spaghetti-like mess, do we? Right, hang on. Come on, turn over. turn it over. Good girl. There you go. Right. Okay, so there's wire 1. Right, then next it says, I bet it says connect wire 2. Continue by inserting the plug of wire 2 into the corresponding connector on the piece. Remember to route the free end forward, passing it through the 2 retaining clips. So wire 2, which is here somewhere, there's wire 2 there. Okay, so I'm going to straighten this out so it's nice, doesn't have any kinks in it. Now number 2 is there. So that's going to plug into there. Yeah, and then the other end is going to, yes, you guessed it, it's going to go down here, like so. Let's pull that through, there we go. So that's how they're all going to go. And then the next bit, it says, connect the rest of the wires up to 17. Note that wire 9, which comes out of the speaker, is already connected. All of the wires pass under the retaining clips. So I'm just going to look forward to the next step and see what it says. Okay, we've got a cable clamp going over, and then we're going to start joining them up. Right, so I'm going to go off camera and do that, because you don't want to watch me do that, do you? So I've got to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, not 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, there you go. Right, back in a minute. Okay, so that's that all done. As you can see, the wires here, they come out of the circuit board, and then they go down underneath these 2 pegs, and then just come out the front. We're going to sort them out in a minute. Now, this wire is all bunched up here. I've tried to keep it as flat as I can, but it's not that easy because some of them want to turn sideways. But we're going to make sure that when we put the floor in, it's not going to foul on anything. So we've got a bracket here that's going to go on. So this bracket is going to go here. Okay, and then we've got a, once again, I should have pre-armed the screwdriver. We've got a DSO2, so it's going into metal. I haven't tapped the thread, but it's going in there lovely. Right, so that's our wires there clamped down. The other thing I did, you might want to do this because obviously once everything's in, you're not going to be able to get to this. What I've done, I've gone round, and every one I've just sort of gone, like this one here is number, this is number 01. So I've gone in here and just checked. I grabbed 01 here, just pull the wire, and yeah, I can see that that is 01, and just check that all of the numbers here correspond with the numbers up. Here we go, up here. We've got all those wires there, so we've got lots and lots of wires all hanging around. So we'll deal with that as we go forward. So in the magazine here, now with the free end of wire 10 with its join the free end with its counterpart coming from the engine compartment. So wire 10, okay, so there's wire 10 there, and there's wire 10 there. We've got loads of excess. I don't know what we're supposed to do with that. So we check we got this the right way around. When you look at these connectors, you can see that the terminals are off to one side and the holes are off to one side. So make sure you've got them the right way round. Now I'm not quite sure what we're supposed to do with this wire 10. Just put it in there and loop it around a couple of times perhaps. Loop it down through there. It's got loads of excess cable there, so there we go. Right. Now we've got to retrieve the assembly of the interior of the model and place it on the chassis. We've got wires to connect here. We're going to connect wire 2. Correct wires 2, C2 to 8, C8, which you have just plugged into the PCB with their matching numbered wires from the model's interior. Wires 2 to 8. Sorry, I was thinking 2 and 8. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So we're going to connect all those up. So we're going to grab the interior, which is here, right, in all its glory. I'm going to place that on the floor. Okay, so we've got all these wires here coming out of here. They're going to connect to these wires down here. So, and we're going to have loads and loads of extra wire hanging around. All the dust on there. I have to give that a little vacuum. So I'm going to connect all these wires up, and then I'll come back. All right, so moving along here. So we've got all these connected up, and what we've got to do is all the other ones have got to come out of the side of the chassis here. Okay, so make sure they're all around. There's a lug there. I'm going to make sure they're around the front of that that lug I think is going to be going into the floor. So just make sure we don't put any screws through there and end up shorting any wires or anything. So that's that done. What it might be a good idea to do is grab a little piece of tape or something, and I'm just going to put that on those wires there, just to make sure they don't ride up above that lug there, because I don't want to be, once you get a screw up through these wires, you take the insulation away and it shorts them out. So that's going to go like that. Now the next part of the instructions, it's telling us to fit the interior but make sure the steering column is connected. Now my steering column is over here, you can fit it afterwards. So I'm going to see if we can actually fit this floor first and then put the column in, because we've got to get down to here, right down in here, whoops, down in there. We've got to get in there to connect the steering column up, and I think it's going to be a lot easier to do it from underneath. So what I'm going to do now is take this interior, bring these wires up. I want to make sure I don't have any of the loose ones tangled up in these. So there's one there. Okay, I'm going to bring these wires up. Okay, leave these others coming out of the side. So we should have, you see that one's got tangled up with them, so I'm going to move this out of the way. This one here is tangled up with them, and I've just pulled that tape up. So what I'm going to do is thread this one out through here and make sure it's not being tangled up with those. Okay, so see there's a loose one there. Alright. In fact, I think what I'm going to do, move this interior back some more. I think what I'll do is move these wires that are connected to the interior. We'll put those behind that pin, and we'll have the other ones in front of it. That way we can keep everything lower down. Alright, just like that. What I should be able to do now is put a piece of tape across all of it. Hold it all down with that. Right. Now these can come up. We can move the interior into position. It should just sort of drop in and find its own place. I think, there we go. So those wires there can sit up in there. Okay, there's a good little place for them to sit, isn't it? Alright, now we're going to put the steering column in after we've screwed the floor in. I just want to move this. I think it's already, yeah, it's found its own place. So there's obviously holes in the floor that go over that peg that I've just pulled the wires around. So these wires are all here and they're not trapped under that lug. Okay, so that's good. Right. So now I'm going to hold that floor in place. We've got to put it in place with 4 PSO5 screws. I'm not loving these. I wish they'd use the longer versions, because it seems that everything I do with these PSO5 screws never seems to be enough thread engagement, and it all just strips. Right, so we're going to tip the body up, tip the whole thing up on its side, like so, holding the interior. And we've got 4 PSO5 screws. It's showing there. Oh, okay, I can see it now. So that's not contacting anything. And then here, you see now, that feels like it's just stripped straight away because the screws just aren't long enough. Either that or the floor isn't correctly located. God, this is so awkward. It feels like it's correctly located. Let's have a look. Okay, exactly what I didn't want to happen has happened. I'll show you now. Lift this away. Those wires have all pulled themselves over that screw hole, and that is what's prevented that from going in. So I hope I haven't damaged these wires at all. Passing that screw through. So we're going to have these wires staying in front of that one, because that's where they want to go. So hopefully now we can bring this down. Okay, and then I'm going to hold it together. Get the screw on the screwdriver. Told you this was going to be a long one, didn't I? Get the screw on the screwdriver. Bring the model up onto its side, and then we'll get a screw into that hole. Right, keeping hold of it. Being careful not to strip them, because it's so easily done. I'll get a screw into there. Like that. And then finally no, that's not the right hole, Nige. To use the spare screw. Ugh, get that one out. Oh, it's still on the screwdriver, that's why it won't come out of the hole. Duh. The hole is under here. I need to get down on the floor to see it. There it is. It feels like that's not going into anything. Okay, this is fun, isn't it? This is fun, fun, fun all the way. Right, what I'm going to do here is turn this around. Urgh, it's getting really unmanageable now. And then we're going to lift it up like this onto its other side. And then I can pull the floor down as I put this screw in. And it's not engaging at all. So that's because the lug hasn't got in. Where's the screwdriver? Just going to lever this floor back, then it goes in. So there we go. Most important is that front left corner, to make sure those wires aren't all trapped. Okay, so that's that in there. Right, so we've got a spare PSO5 screw. Right, we've got to get this steering column in now. I'm going to turn this over so you can see that shiny brass bit there. Oh, the spare wheel just fell out. That shiny brass bit there is where the column's got to go. So it's going to be impossible for me to film. But what we've got to do, we've got to get into there with a pin, and we've got to push the pin through. So it's going to be easier to do it like this from underneath than from the top. So what we're going to do, we are going to insert our steering column like so. Go through those wires, and then we should be able to see from the top. You won't be able to see this because if you can see it, I can't. So that's going to go into there all the way through. Then it's going to line up that hole. Right, so basically I could turn that steering column now and it's not doing anything. I'm going to bring this over, bring it up on its side, And now I can see what I'm doing, and the pin is here, and somehow we have got to get that pin in there, and I really don't know how. I can't even get anything onto into there to actually make sure that I need to make sure that the column has gone in and the holes are aligned. So I'm going to do this off camera because you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing. If you've got one of these and you're building it, you'll know exactly the struggle, and let's see how I can get around it. Okay then guys, as you can see, I've got the body up on its side. I've got an additional light here so I can see what I'm doing. Now the other thing I've done, if I remove the steering wheel and the column, what I've done is I've sanded the end of the column with a sanding stick so it make it easier to see the hole, because basically you've got to slide this into that brass bush and you've got to be able to see what you're doing, and get that pin in. So if you do that, it makes it a lot easier to see. So if I bring the body over and just slide this in, okay, and then get the steering wheel in the correct orientation, I can slide it into that brass bush, and I can see, because I've got a little pin tool here, what I can do is stop it turning, and then I can see that hole because I've polished the metal around it, and then I can, as the steering column goes in, I can feel that it's aligned because that pin, because the pin on that tool has gone in. So now I can slide this. Note I'm putting this in, it's got a knurled end on it just like we used on the front suspension. I'm going to slide this in just like so. Okay, oh, it's fallen off now. It just fell out. As I say, I'm going to do this off camera because you can't see what I'm doing anyway, it's pointless. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, we got there in the end. That took a very long time. In the end, what I realised was the actual steering column, the steel part, I filed about 1 millimetre off the end, because basically you've got the column here, you've got the brass bush here, it goes down in, you've got a hole that has to line up, and it wouldn't line up properly. Once you file some material off the end, I've got this pointy tool here. I just put that through, add that slide through, grabbed the pin with my little pliers and just pushed it in, and then just tapped it in finally just to get the knurl bit to go in. Job done. So now it's in there nice and solid. So the next part of the build is fitting this radiator hose. So we have the radiator hose here, we have a hole in there, we have a D-shaped pin on there, so we are going to slot the pin into the radiator. Should be a nice snug fit, I think. Yep. And then that is going to go onto the engine there. So there we are. So there's our top hose done. Paint those clamps silver should you want to. And then coming over the page, it's telling us to fit the brake lines. If you remember, we put the brake lines on in the last video or the one before. So we've got the brake lines down here. I'll just tip this up just to show you. You can see the brake line there, or not, as the case may be. The brake line is there. Okay, there it is. Okay, and it's just clipped onto a pin in the side there. So that's that. So that's it for this month. That's 103 done. This needs to be cleaned. I'll leave it until before we put the body on, because obviously it's going to pick up bits of dust and stuff before the body goes on. But you can see there we are, all looking hunky-dory. Interior in now. It's really starting to take shape, and it weighs a ton, as I keep saying. It looks like we've got some mounts here for the body, so that's going to stiffen up this floor, because at the moment it's a bit a bit wobbly in the middle. So thank you for watching. I will see you all soon. Sorry I couldn't show you more about that steering, but it just would have gone on and on and on and on. But you can see here the wires will all gather up and sit behind there, all nice and safely out of the way. And then we've got all these, as instructed, we've got all these sticking out the side here. I'm knocking everything over with the back of the model now. So there we are. I'll see you all soon for 104. I don't know what glorious parts are going to come next. I'll see you then. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.